Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make a color collage. It's a pretty simple project, so let's just get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going File, New, and I'm going to make a square, 650 pixels. Make sure this is pixels by 650 pixels, because you definitely don't want 650 inches. So now I have this nice white square right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 4 squares within it for each one for our image. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool. I'm going to hold down shift to make sure we're creating a square, and I'm going to drag. So once I think I find a size that's good enough, I'm going to let go of my key and then shift. And then I'm going to move it to about where I think it should go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the layer and then drag it over. So let's try and figure out this spacing using these pink guidelines that are popping up. So let's duplicate the layer, move it over, and try and figure out the right spacing. All right, so I think we need to move these a little bit more up. All right, so I think that looks pretty good and pretty even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the 4 images of the same color that I've already have. So I'm going to take these, and they're each going to open up into different tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the first one, and then just pull out all the other ones so we don't have to keep going back and forth. So I'm going to start by using this sort of green street. I'm going to unlock it, drag it over, and then drag it right on top of the rectangle that I want, and then right click, create a clipping mask. And then I'm going to close this out and just say no. So from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this green picture, I'm going to unlock it, I'm going to drag it over, close this, and then notice how this image is now behind the screen square. What we want to do is move it above that layer, and then right click, create a clipping mask. And then we're going to continue to do this for the other 2. So I'm going to move it above, right click, create the clipping mask, move it above, right click, create the clipping mask. Whoops, wrong one. All right, there we go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to resize some of these images. So notice how we still have the black box surrounding this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Control T. We're going to click on one of the corners, holding Shift, and then drag it around to make it a little bit bigger so that this box is fully complete with the photograph. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to make this image a little smaller, because notice how big it is. And another tip for resizing is you click the lock button up here, and then these are the percentages of how big you want the image to be. So say I want the image to be 70% of the original image. I make it 70%. Say I want it to be even smaller. Say I want it to be 50%. So I can keep doing that and then do the minor adjustments from here by holding Shift and then dragging. So I think that looks pretty good. Except now what I want to do is say I want to move this green one to here because I don't want the 2 plants next to each other. One thing I can do, or maybe I can move this one up. So one thing I can do is I can click this, drag it below the original lightning bolt, and then if I take this off, you'll notice it's already made the clipping mask for me. So all I have to do is move it up, and now it's in its new spot. Unfortunately, we can't do the same thing with the other one, so we'll just have to move it and readjust. So right click, create clipping mask. So now that I have all my images in the places that I want them to be, now we can do a little bit of overall editing. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Layer, Layer Adjustment, and now we have all these different options. So one of the things we can do is we can go to Hue and Saturation. So I'm going to say OK, And now I can play around with it. So notice how these images are green right now? The cool thing about this is we can change them to a completely different color. Now they're kind of reddish and purplish. Now we got them blue. Now we got them like a pinkish color. But I'm just going to return it back to green because I like that. Next on this little toggle bar, we can adjust the saturation. So we can make these all a little brighter green or closer to black and white. So I think I'm just going to increase the saturation by a little bit, plus 15. And then we're going to move on to the last bar. We're going to adjust the lightness. So the lightness is how much light is allowed in the image. So this kind of washes it out, and this sort of darkens the image. So I'm going to brighten it just a little bit, like maybe plus 5 or 6. Yeah, I like that, how that looks. So notice we have before, now we have after. So we've added a little light and a little brightness to our image. So another thing you can do is go to image, or sorry, you can go to layer, new adjustment layer, and then we can adjust the vibrance. So by adjusting the vibrance, you're kind of adjusting the overall impact of the images. So I kind of like it around plus 45 to 50. So notice you have before and after. So notice how those greens are kind of brightening up a bit. So those are just some adjustments you can do to make your mood board or your color collage overall. If there's a lot of different other things you can do, but these are two really simple, easy ways to sort of brighten it up overall. So you can do this with a lot of different colors, a lot of different images, and do it to create different moods. So that's all there is for this project. I'll see you guys in the next one.